Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're switching gears and I'm going to take some time to go over some things I got for the front suspension. I actually got these a little bit ago, and I filmed a lot of this back when I got them. So if it looks like I'm cold because it's in the middle of winter time, it's because it was. Why am I dusting off these videos now and putting them up? Because now I'm getting ready and gearing up for the suspension, particularly the front A-arm suspension. Welcome back to the garage. I got a couple things for you today. It's going to be another product reveal type sort of thing. I got one of my orders in from Apple Tree. First things first. Very simple. Got myself some new window cranks. This didn't come with any of them, and I figured that'll work with my interior black and silver. Now we go on to the next thing. The next thing is the important thing. Look at the size of those wheel bearings. Oh, I love it. I'm telling you right now, I love it. So one of the big things that I needed to do before I put together the front suspension is finish putting together my front spindles. Here are the front spindles. These are, again, from Apple Tree Automotive. But what they are is just a basic sand buggy spindle with a 2-inch hollow. So you got a 2-inch hollow. That gives me the most amount of bearing that I can put on this thing. Now, obviously, I could put a bigger bearing in there, go grab, whatever kit. I'm not going trophy truck. You guys know how much these bugs weigh. So I don't need to go super huge, but I didn't want to go stock or even the combo spindles, which look pretty beefy. These things, super beef. And if you look at these bearings and seals, good freaking night. So if I'm in the air and I come down hard, or if I'm going across the desert and it's just exercising the suspension, I don't need to worry that I have crappy wheel bearings. The last place I want to be is out in the middle of nowhere, driving up some dunes or bouncing across the desert and have a wheel come off. That would suck. So I went ahead and got the bigger wheel bearings. It's just, to me, smarter. Do it now, pay once, cry once type sort of thing, I guess. Isn't that what people say? All right, so let's take a look at box number 2. I'm just going to open one of these up. Here they are. Hubs and rotors. And this is the latest Rage kit. This is an 11-inch rotor, 3/8 inch thick. This is aluminum, looks like. It's bolted on so I could change out the rotors. That's pretty awesome. I have all the journal races in there. Look how thick these journal races are. I love that. Not only can you goop a bunch of freaking grease in there and not dry out your bearings, but just think of the size of the bearings, dude. That's beef. I love it. It looks really nice. I really like this. This is pretty good. I went with a 4-piston caliper. The reason I went with a 4-piston caliper, it'll go that way, because I wanted to make sure I could stop. That's literally it. I'm going to be turning 35-inch tires, hopefully going pretty quick. And although the front end doesn't exactly handle much weight, the weight that it does handle, I want it to be able to stop easily. I could always adjust the proportioning valve and my brake bias in order to give more power to the back so I don't lock up my front, because that's the last thing you want to do is lock up the front. But I wanted to get these. I had to get these parts because now I can put these in and find out my wheel mounting width. But I need to know from the ball joint, basically, it's not the ball joint, the lower heim to the wheel face. Because that way I will know how wide my spindles and brakes will be, so I could subtract that from how wide my suspension my A-arms are going to be. And I could set my vehicle width exactly where I want it. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing. This is right now. Initial thoughts on this kit. One, price point is freaking awesome. These are good looking brakes. These are really good looking brakes. Now, will I upgrade in the future? Probably. But I like to know that what I have will handle what I need to do. And then what I need to do is stop this bug at speed. And so there you go. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, if you like what you see, I got this from Tom over at Appletree. If you go and call Tom or any of the guys down at Appletree, let me know you saw their stuff on my YouTube. Did some ordering as I've been prepping to do the front suspension. A buddy of mine from back in the days when I built Scouts has some super sweet parts that I use my 4-link kits and for my rock crawlers and stuff of that nature. He helped develop some things for me, and so I always go back to Dan. And Dan, if you ever hear of Dan or his company, Rough Stuff Specialties, definitely worth a look at. A couple of things I got is I'm going to be mounting my A-arms with bushings. A lot of guys are using Heims. I'm not faulting Heims. Go for it all you want. I don't like how Heims can, and they don't all, but they can get very loose, and I don't like that, because when they start getting loose, they get clicky. And when you hit the brakes, it'll click, and you hit gas, it'll click, and you turn left, you turn right, it clicks. So I've got bushings for days, and I'm using the 2-inch quarter wall DOM. It'll fit right in there. They cut these to length. I got these not the longest they can do, but as long I felt comfortable with. That way I can spread them out quite a bit. Also, what he has these builder kits. These builder kits for Heims. This is a 7/8 Heim joint. Nice fat body. This is a 7/8 by 3/4. I got his kits, which come with the weld-in bung, the misalignment spacers, jam nuts, and the rod ends. I got 2 sets. These are sweet. These are very tight, very nice rod ends. These have never steered me wrong. And Scouts are 7,000 pounds versus, well, my buggy was 7,000 pounds. I know that sounds a little weird, but when you have almost 300 pounds per tire and rim, it was Humvee double bead locks with magnesium run flats and 42 by 14 super swampers. Let's just say it gets a little heavy. You got 1 ton or 1 1/4 ton running gear, alloy shafts, twin transfer cases. Anyway, they're very heavy, and if they work for those, I'm pretty good with it handling the 2,000 pounds of the bug. So these suckers are going to fit right in here, and the A-arms are going to come there and there. So that's going to be nice and pretty. But as I said, I am going with these bushings. Me, I'm fairly comfortable with my ability to make things straight, so I'm not too worried about getting these on straight, and I'll tell you why. One of the things that they did over at Rough Stuff that I thought was freaking genius. Now, if you've ever tried to weld on one of these and have it properly set up, the problem is that as soon as you weld, you start burning these bushings completely out. So unless you have spare sets of these, you're not going to be able to set up your rig or your suspension very well without doing a lot of damage to some bushing. So what they came up with, these little pucks, and these are basically the same dimensions as your bushing, but they fit on your tube. That way you could set everything up, weld it completely solid, keep the bolts in it so that it doesn't, wobble out or heat warp out, and everything is still in line perfect. So I thought those were sweet. So I picked up a couple of sets of those. And then I've talked to a couple of guys with A-arm suspensions, guys who really use them, really beat the crap out of their bugs and go out desert racing. And what you see a lot of times is people will use super thin or thinner material, like 1/8 inch, and then they'll gusset it with these gussets here. And that's just basically to make this hole that you put your bolt through thicker. And that's, dude, that's awesome. I love it that these have those. Not on the top, unfortunately, but especially on the bottom where the most of the force is. I'm glad it has some extra thickness there, right? So one of the issues that they had was after miles of pretty much hard use in the desert, their tabs that are hold on, the links, start to wallow out a little bit. They just the constant pounding and the movement of the suspension basically wallows out these joints. So Dan, for Scouts and for Jeeps, older Jeeps and stuff, makes shackle, the two uprights that hold the spring to the chassis, and he makes that stuff out of 3/8. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut out the size of the box tube for the for my chassis that I'm going to build off the front of the pan. Cut this out and then have these bolted up completely snug so everything's in line, and just drop it over the box tube that's coming off of the front horn, the Napoleon hat. That way I could make sure everything's in line. I could use my square and be able to line it up, make sure it's straight where it needs to be, zap it on, and not worry about these moving, you know, and things of that nature. So I've got large shackles because that's how wide they're going to be, and I believe these are 6 or 7. These are 6 inches on center. Now the difference, this rake that you have in the between the bolts on the spindle, it's about 1.25 inches. So if that's 6, you need 1.25 inches shorter. There you go. This will be down there with my lower A-arm, about 8.5 inches, which is the measurement from here to here. Keep all the length the same length. I'm going to line that up the best I can, and presto. I'm going to build a little box basically out of some box tube. I'm going to trim out these to make so they sit right down in them. And, you know, I'm probably gusset these a little bit at 3/8 thick. It's not going anywhere, because when you think about it, that's 3/4 inch of metal that it's got to bend or has to ride on. You keep that lubricated right and cleaned, it's going to last forever. All right, that's a sneak peek of some of the parts I got for the front A-arm suspension. Obviously going to be using those 3/4 inch shackles to hold the A-arms to the chassis. I'm going to build off of the pan. And then after that, you might be wondering, how are you going to cut those things? Those are 3/4 inch thick when you have both of them together. I am going to bolt them together so they all line up perfectly. And that's where I got another little toy I wanted to show you. All right. Some of you guys are familiar with Swag Off Road. Swag Off Road specializes in taking some tools that are readily available, some inexpensive tools, and making them way more useful. A couple of the guys out there saw the problems that I had with the Harbor Freight tubing roller, and they showed me some upgrades that Swag Off Road sells that makes that Harbor Freight tubing roller much more robust and much more useful. But another thing, as I was looking at the site, I saw this. Now, this is a basic little table that they make that allows you to take a porter band, like a regular Harbor Freight porter band, and it turns it into a small fab table, basically a small upright bandsaw. And so I saw that. It was like $150 for the table, and I thought to myself, I bet you I could use that. Here's a quick video I put together while I was making it or building the table and stuff. All right, no joke, that's loud. But you guys saw that yourselves. Look at that. Look at that freaking edge. Look at that cut. That's actually really nice. Got a little burr on it, but good grief. That was real time. I didn't speed that up. I didn't speed part of that up. It looks like it's sped up. It is sped up, but otherwise it wasn't sped up. That's crazy. So obviously that worked really well. I'm going to test the limits that this thing will do. I'm not sure how many of these I can do, but my thought is I'm going to bolt as many of these as I dare together, and then just basically cut out. Let's just pretend like this is the box tube I'm going to use. Basically what I'm going to do is just going to mark it, center it up, mark it, and then cut out that on all of them so they're all uniform. Basically just cut it out just like you saw there in the video. It'll fit perfectly the box tube. Use my square, tack it up as I mentioned. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to use this in the real near future. I think this is going to be fun. See what I can put together, see if it actually works. That's always a question. But thanks for joining me. Thanks for staying till the end. I'll see you on the next video. I'm Damien. This is the Minder Builder.